discussing has been aware rugby is happening everywhere.
Abel Musoke, who completes his tackle. Magomu, yet again, finds Angulo! And the offload is complete! The intercept goes to Paul Masandi! He will run!
That should be it! That should be it! Oh! That should be it! Oh my God, Namilango College! Very, very...
And it's again a rugby moment. The rugby podcast is back, and as you can see, Louis Semuju is absent for whatever reason. Maybe he's on holiday, maybe he just wanted to leave. But I will be in controlling seat, I should say, today. And my name is Kihumuro Rueben, and we're going to be talking about rugby for the next 20 or so minutes. And today, yet again, for another week back to back, we are with Cobs diehard. Last week we had Dungu Joseph here, and today we have Ceasar Ankunda. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Rueben.
How was the weekend? How was rugby for you over the weekend and the weekend in general?
Rugby was okay. We had sevens, we had rugby sevens, then we had, of course, a rugby league, and I got to watch my club play. It was okay for me.
Are you happy with where your club is with the first round of the league done?
Well,
games into the season.
Well, we are not on top, but I'm okay where we are.
Do you, maybe if I'm to go into something that I keep hearing as a whisper, that Cobs is a lot more of a tournament team than a league team, what would you have to say about those comments or those remarks?
Well, whoever makes those remarks needs to go and go through the history and see how many leagues we won.
Well,
then they will know
I
we're
think they're
not.
basing that off the recent past, where Cobs is usually high and flying in the Uganda Cup, but then when it comes to the league, they usually choke at some point, and it always comes back to maybe bite them, especially against eternal rivals, Heathens, who usually maybe jump over them and then take the league from them. When you think that Cobs should have been in that position to take it, like maybe I should say last season, they were actually called bonus points, not for no reason, because they were actually accruing as many points as they could, but then they didn't win the league.
Well, the league, you can't say we didn't win the league because we are a tournament team. Things happen here and there, or we all know them. Things happen here and there that can block you from winning a league. But let's wait and see this season.
Well, okay, we are all waiting. We shall all be watching with the second round of the league starting. But I think let's just get back to schedule. I want to just talk about the rugby sevens first and foremost.
Yes.
What did you think about the team before it left for Chile?
Well, I was happy about a few things and not happy about others. I was happy with the inclusion of Kore and Okeni, the Cobs player Okeni, who I believe really did well regular season. They always talk about the sevens coach Tobert as a person who has a set team in his mind, but the team he selected showed you that he actually paid attention to sevens, and the people that did well, he promoted to the team.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that he had been getting a lot of criticism over, that
Yes.
his selections were not of the people that were in form at the moment.
Yeah.
But then there are some times where you actually need to select players that are fit into your mold, and are not necessarily, I should say, on form at the time, because there's a difference between club form and then playing
the national rugby.
it's a whole different ball game.
Yes,
You have to have the people that have the metal for it.
Yes.
But while we're still on that topic, there was a conversation, or I should say debate, on social media, where we saw pictures of the sevens team wearing Nile stout shirts, who are apparently, I think, facilitating something, but then they were playing in Guinness jerseys. What do you have to say about that, since these are both, I should say, they are rival brands?
Yes. Well, I don't know the nitty-gritties of the contracts they have with Guinness and the contracts they have with Nile Stout. I don't want to comment on something that I'm not so sure about. Well, if I'm sure the people who manage the rugby sevens and the rugby national team as a brand wouldn't have made a blunder wouldn't have made such a big blunder if the contracts weren't as flexible, or if they didn't sit down with these two rival brands and they allowed it, because I don't know. I don't want to comment on something I'm not so
But
sure about.
just in general, do you think it's good in regards branding and marketing?
Well, the little I know about marketing, it would be weird and awkward.
Mm.
It would be weird and awkward for you to have a Nile stout T-shirt and then you have a jersey. It would look awkward. Like,
because a lot of people actually raised concerns about that, but I hope it was a blunder or something that should need to be rectified, or maybe the union should just come out and maybe explain to everyone the whole dynamic behind that. Maybe the companies chose to work together. Anyway, just going back to the weekend and how the boys played over the 2 days. How do you rate their performance as a whole, and maybe you can tell me who are the standouts for you?
as a whole, we really did well. We really, this is the first time I've been most impressed of our sevens team. Usually we watch and our sevens team is full of brilliant rugby players. They are very skilled, they are very quick, but for me, this is my opinion, this was one of the best tournaments for me because they had teamwork. Their defense was teamwork, their attack was teamwork. In my life, I always criticize a few players. He doesn't pass, he doesn't do this, but I was very, very impressed with the team. Standout players, for me, is Philip Okorat. I was so happy with Philip because Philip learned to play with the team. He played team rugby. Yes, usually he finds himself kicking and chasing the ball, doing it himself because he's really skilled and he has been reliable for us. But this tournament, he played with the team and I was very, very impressed. Also impressed with Aaron Ofoiro. I have reservations about him. His discipline on pitch and sometimes off, but those are rumors. But his discipline on pitch always costs us. But he really, at least Tobert came to talk to him, and I was happy with his play.
Because there were so many people that were saying that he shouldn't have travelled with so much of the chaos that was going on.
That was hovering around him.
I think you can say that Tolbert's decision actually paid off for him to be
it
like,
really
was
did.
important to
It
how
was
the team
important,
was.
yeah.
So, but one thing I've noticed about Uganda sevens especially, for two-day tournaments, we usually have a very, very bright day one, and then the day two is usually lackluster, if not poor. What do you have to say about that? And maybe is it something that stems from maybe the local league, the fact that our sevens are usually one day and maybe the players are not used to playing on the second day?
Well, first and foremost, from a selfish point of view, I'd love our local league to have 2 days because that's more rugby for me on the weekend. But I wouldn't want to put it down to a 2-day tournament. They have really enough time to rest. I don't think we play until 7 p.m. then rest and start at... No, I don't think so. They usually have enough time because you play your group stage games, then you rest. And they usually have enough time to rest. What makes us... I want to believe that when we reach the quarters and those upper knockout stages, we feel like we meet, no disrespect to other teams, but we meet more prepared teams, or so we find it hard to beat the teams, but we should find solace in the fact that if you watch the games last weekend, we didn't lose because the teams were better than us. We lost because we made mistakes. We made mistakes. Knock-ons were passing badly. We were not releasing ball when we needed to release ball. We were not supporting when we needed to support. It was our fault that we lost, and not rather that the teams who were playing against were better than us, which made that weekend also good for me. So I think we can work around it, but it would be better also that they get to know. But these are season 7 players who have played all these tournaments. They should be used by now to a 2-day tournament.
Okay. Well, that's a very good take on it. Well, but now going into Uruguay this weekend, I think they're in Montevideo, if I'm not wrong. What do you have to say about it? What do you think? How do you think the boys are going to fare? Do you think we can go all the way this time? You know, last weekend was so good, so near but so far. But this weekend, what do you anticipate from the boys? Well,
first and foremost, there's some few new players. They've been there, but they've not been involved. There's Corey, there's this gentleman from Cobbs, Okeni,
yes.
Okay, who was one of the best players in the sevens tournament locally. So at least they've got to play with him. They've learned to use him. They've learned to use how these players play to their strength. I believe we'll do better, but we have a goal. We have to finish in the top 8 so that we go to Hong Kong. The boys know this, the coaches know this. I believe we shall do well. We might not go we want to go all the way and win, but the goal is to get to Hong Kong.
How would you rate the role of Michael Okorach in a team that is very, very young, I should say, his experience and the fact that he has been around and the fact that he is captain? What would you say about his role in the squad?
Well, leadership first and foremost. Michael is a leader. He might not put 100% every single game, but he's a leader. Having him around gets the other new players and the other young boys, I didn't want to use the word kids, the other young boys in line, and I believe he's the leadership part we need in the team. And he had a good tournament, to be honest.
Yeah,
he really did. I was impressed.
Okay, that's moving away from sevens, international sevens, and we just go back to the local league. Now that we have reached the midpoint, this weekend kicks off the second round. Looking at the top of the table where we have the Heathens and we have Cobs and then we have the Pirates. You could say that the normal order is restored, as people were saying. There was Warriors there at a certain point and there was Mongas at some point.
There's always Warriors.
Yeah.
I don't know where they go after.
And it's something that we are all trying to figure out. Yeah, then at the bottom, we saw a very big change this weekend. After nine attempts, Impis finally got their win, the win that they want, to match all the noise on social media.
Yes,
what do you have to say about that win and what it means to them, their fans, and rugby in general?
It was impressive. They have one of the best, I wouldn't want to say biggest, one of the best fan bases. They might even be very few, but they will make noise and you'll be heard. So I was glad that they won. I was glad that they won because at least they're a good team. They're a good team. Impis always has a good team. Always. Just the things that let them down are simple things. Management, bickering here and there, but they have a very, very good team. They will play on their own without coaches. Now they have coaches, but they would play on their own without coaches and play well. So I was impressed. There's a good battle down at the bottom, same as the top. It's going to be a very, very good second half of the season.
Talking about the relegation still, Rhinos now find themselves in a very uncharacteristic position. Number 10, last. And looking at it, if the season was to end right now, they would be relegated, and I'm sure that is not something that they would want, them and their fans as well. What do you have to say about Rhinos? What's not happening with Rhinos? They conceded 69 points against Heathens at Chadondo this previous weekend, and the fact that maybe they train with you guys, maybe don't they copy some notes from you to try and maybe style up their gameplay? What do you think is not happening with Rhinos?
My opinion about Rhinos is they're in transition. If you look at the team, if you look at the players, it has a big contingent of young boys. Vakis, some are in first year. They are in transition. If I can pull you to remind you, there was a time Pirates went through the same. They almost were relegated. Then they realized they needed to transition. Then they started the transition that climaxed to being a league champion. Rhinos is in a transition that they are not, maybe they were not ready for, but they've accepted. They've accepted that they're in transition. I wouldn't want them to get relegated, because coming from a person like I who managed a league team that got relegated, then we came back, it's not easy. It's not as easy as people think it is. The championship is actually really hard. So I don't think that's my problem. They came at a time they're in transition, whereas other clubs are either also at the climax of their transition or they are on top of their game. So that's why they are a bit struggling, and these kids are getting to know. But I believe the second half of the season is going to be much better for them. It's going to be a very good second half of the season.
Well, like we've said, we're actually at halfway. If you're predicting, who do you think would be relegated? That's a prediction.
Well, to be from the usual happenings in the league, when the issues that come up with the league here and there, I would want to predict. I'm predicting I'm not going to like the answer to this question. I'm predicting Impis might get relegated. Let me tell you why. Impis has a lot of variations. We might be there and its players go to exams. Then they don't have players to play, you know. Its players are not around, then they will give out a walkover. Case in point, what happened against Mongas.
Yeah.
They have very many points that affect them here and there. So I want to believe. I want to believe. It's going to be hard. Rams can get relegated. Impis can get relegated. Rhinos can get relegated. But the conditions that affect those three teams, Impis is most affected because its player base is on and off. That's why I think they might get into trouble.
That is actually a very, I should say, educated way of looking at it. And maybe if you just to look at the three teams at the bottom, right now Rams is on 12 points. They have been losing, but they have been able to actually, they stole a win against Pirates, very surprisingly, to the celebration of so many Cobs fans. And then the Impis are on 6 and Rhinos is on 5 points. So you could say it's still very tight, and maybe Rams has a bit of breathing space. But talking about Rams now, what do you think that maybe this could be a very trying period for them, since now they probably have to host their games from Chadondo, very unfamiliar for them, you know, being for years you're used to Makerere and now you have to change and be at Chadondo. Now you probably the training has to change. Does this affect so many of the players, maybe the younger players who are also students around there, because most of them are in medical school, they're actually doctors. Now the transition to Chadondo might be inconveniencing. How do you think that affects them, and what do you think is the way forward for Rams?
I believe it's
Do they
going to
become
affect
a Chadondo team?
I believe it's going to affect them. It's going to affect them very, very much. So because I want to believe, and I'll be crucified on social media for this, but I want to believe even this issue of, because Rams was playing really, really well until when they went into this couple, which was very, very unfortunate. I want to come out and say this. It was very, very unfortunate what happened to Rams. They have to, their management and their coaches have to adjust. Lumo has to find a solution. Ask Marcos to train from there. I don't know, get a school nearby. Ask the Eagles to allow them to train from Chitante.
The Eagles.
Yeah, find a way to figure it out, because it will affect them greatly when they don't know, when someone doesn't know where you're going to train on Tuesday or Thursday or Wednesday, whatever day they train. So it's going to affect them greatly.
Yeah, so looking at the top of the table, Cobs actually in second place now. They had a game against Ginger Hippos. Surprisingly, the Hippos scored fast, and the Hippos actually, it was an end-to-end game for like the first 30 minutes or so, both teams scoring. What do you think that Cobs' strength at this point is? With halfway the season, we see they have lost so many players to sevens, but they are still able to put up again another weekend of 50 points. What do you think is Cobs' biggest strength, in your opinion?
Cobs' biggest strength is one, depth. We have a very, very, very good player depth. Yes, some issues here and there that I may not be at liberty to speak because of powers that be, but we have player depth. We have players that are desiring to play for Cobs, that desire to put on the chart and show up and play. And for us, that player depth and that competition and that drive and that desire to be champions, like the DNA of Cobs, pushes those players to want to be the best, to want to be on top. And that's why even when we lose, I believe we lose the highest number, we may contribute the highest number of players on the sevens team. Our influential players can go, but we still put on those points, because when other players go, other players come in. We lost our captain for 2 to 3 game weeks, but some people didn't even notice he had gone, because people want to show up and play for Cobs. That's why we love the club, and we love it too much. We want to die for it.
Yeah, now, as you talked about Cobs' strength being in player depth, I would like to maybe say Heathens, which put 69 points on the weekend against Rhinos. It's becoming actually a game of points difference, because they know at a certain point this could count for something. And I would say that one of the biggest strong points for the Green Army, Heathens, the green machine, I should say, is the fact that they are very organized and the fact that they have a very experienced forwards pack. Or you could say most of them are national team current players or ex-players. So they have so much experience, and I believe that they are the biggest and the most important cog in that machine. What do you think Cobs has to do to maybe first of all narrow the gap and maybe try and leapfrog them to top position?
In my opinion, we need to take one game at a time. We need to win our games, because it's useless planning for a Heathens match and then you lose to Pirates or any other team. We need to take it one game at a time, improve our game, which we are doing, and we're really, really getting good at. We improve our game so that when we come to play Heathens, we don't get sucked into the game they know, which is, my opinion, is what happened in the first game, conditions notwithstanding. The game, we don't get sucked into the game we know. We play to our strength, let them play to our strength, and not let them, we shouldn't even keep it at a 50-50 level. When we show up that day, when that day comes, let's come with maximum points first and foremost. Then when we play them, we have to, because Heathens is one, if not the most successful club in League Rugby.
Yes, it is.
In League Rugby.
Yeah.
And they're mature. And you will never find Heathens guys attacking people on social media. You will never find Heathens guys doing those fun. They have leadership. They are a lot like Cobs. That's why we respect each other too much, except for the other club. But we respect each other too much. Rams. We respect each other too much because we are one in the same. Because we know what it means to win. We know what it means for rugby. We know what it means to be. So Heathens is a very, very mature team. So you have to respect them first and foremost when playing them. And you have to be at your best and play your best and not their game.
Maybe a little bit before we leave that point, do you think that Cobs as a team respect Heathens too much usually? Because whenever it usually counts, Heathens usually wins. Do you think that the Cobs respect Heathens too much, or is it a psychological thing right now?
I wouldn't want to call it psychological.
Because I've actually seen very, very mediocre, I should say, or subpar Heathens teams actually get results against a very strong Cobs side.
A Cobs Heathens game is a derby. It has nothing to do with form. It has nothing to do with the team. It has everything to do with pedigree. Two elephants fighting. So I wouldn't want to say we respect each other, and any Heathens fan will say this. But when that day comes, it comes down to who is ready to play to their strength and who is ready not to make mistakes. That game is not about who has played better. That game is about who has made more mistakes. So I wouldn't want to say we over-respect them. No, I don't think so. It's just that day, things happen. This is sport. Yeah. Things happen. But that day is all about who plays better and who makes the less mistakes.
Well, that's actually a very, I should say, politically correct way of answering it. But you talked about consistency. You talked about team carrying a lot. And once you talk about that, one team comes to mind: Pirates. Pirates is a team where this season, maybe because of much of their backbone not being around, I should say, Ivan McGom with studies and the like. But we have seen that maybe new entrants like Stephen Allure has been shifted from 9 to 10 to 15. Conrad Wanyama played 15 at once. That's a game when they lost against Rams. Ivan Kore moving to 12, moving to 10. And right now they seem to have found maybe a rhythm. But at first I have to say that I feel like Pirates tinkering was really affecting them, because rugby is a game where you need people to first of all understand each other and play in those certain combinations that they need to play in. But what would you have to say? I know maybe this is not your favorite topic, but what would you have to say about Pirates going into halfway the season and maybe being third next to the top two?
Again, this is my opinion. Two things. One, I don't think if you saw the Pirates team that won the league, there were the same 15 almost every starting game. And Coach Bobby had the luxury of doing that because he had these players available. I don't think there's a coach in this world who tinkers with this, apart from Eddie Jones. But I don't think there's a coach in this world who tinkers with this team when his team is fully fit. I think the tinkering is because of circumstances here and there that are unavoidable. Two, I think the players weren't ready for the shift to Kings Park. The players weren't ready for the shift to Kings Park because of the distance, and so maybe also that we are not there. I can never go to watch them train, but maybe players being around for training doesn't and then life happened. The Musas of the lights, they got jobs. Rugby doesn't put food on the table usually, so people get jobs. You see, they had a very big crop of campus players and upcoming players and all that stuff. Then they graduated. After graduation life, Ivan Magom, one of the best players, for me, the best player I've watched play, is in school. Mark my words. Once Ivan leaves school like this, jobs will come. And then he will realize that this is his life, this is a hobby. He loves playing rugby, but he has to survive. So things happen that maybe Pirates hadn't anticipated. Maybe they might end up going through a transition every time because they have backbone school campus kids and all that stuff. So I think those two reasons. One, players not being available, so it forces a coach to tinker around, and two, they were not yet used to Bulgaria. But when they do, I think they'll come back and start competing for the tournament.
It actually brings me to something that I was actually discussing about on social media some time back. I'm like, at what point will rugby in Uganda at least stop being amateur or a hobby and start going to the at least semi-professional level, where we know that because we have lost so many greats, so many people that were very talented, and because that what you said, life happened and they had to maybe give up on the game because maybe they're working up country, or maybe because the work is too much for them. What do you think needs to be done?
Quickly, let me say this. Semi-professionalism or professionalism in a sport is about sponsors. It's about money. But no sponsor is going to come into rugby when we've even failed to manage amateur rugby. When the little money we get is always swindled. When we go on social media every single day complaining about the body that governs rugby. I believe, how do we get there? Let's first handle what we have now. Let's make sure that everything we are doing now, the amateur rugby we are playing now, is well governed. Then after that, a sponsor will come, DSTV will come, Nile will add more money, Guinness will come again, and then we will have enough money to pay a player to tell him, do not work, I will take care of your kids' education, I'll take care of your housing. But before no company is going to come and join rugby when we're mismanaging everything we have. And this doesn't go to the union alone, it goes to the clubs we handle. Clubs get small sponsorship, and even that money is swindled. And we don't have accountability, we don't have audits, we don't do anything to show that what a company gives us is being utilized. When we learn how to manage the sport the way it should be managed, then sponsorship will come. Then, because I don't see why soccer, and I will say this, I don't see why soccer gets all this much, attention and, money.
I would say organization and numbers.
Yes, it's as simple as that. They have numbers, but what brings the numbers? Organization. There are people in the rugby world, people that love rugby. The first son, I will keep talking about this, he is a rugby diehard. But no one will associate with an organization that is not well managed. We need to manage what we have. When we manage what we have, then the powers that be will give us something else to manage.
Well, I can say I'm totally in agreement with that. It's actually something we need to clean house from within first before we expect any guests to come in. Yeah, but as we maybe wrap this up, looking at the first round, who would you say was your overall standout player? Or who are your two overall standout players, I should say?
Well, if I may, I would be a bit biased because I didn't really watch. The most games I watched were games where my club was playing.
Okay.
And also, if my club was playing at 4:30, I would come for the 2:30 game. Or when my club was playing at 2:30, so I wouldn't want to be say overall tournament, overall first round for the whole league, who was my standout player, I'll be a bit biased because today I read on the Union the top scorers. I didn't even know Alex had 6 tries.
No, he has actually been very impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, because he has actually been showing up and filling very big boots. Desire was injured at a certain point in the era, and so many of them were then the sevens, and other players also unavailable. So he came into a club that had big ambitions. He was in Walukuba, and he has actually fit in so well. And he actually it's very hard for you to bench him right now because he's showing, his efforts are showing, and you should say he belongs there. Yeah, so it's been a good show for him.
What I can say though, the few games I've watched, I've been impressed by Pajob Edgar. And I hate to say this, but it's the truth. For a prop his size, a person who hasn't played rugby for the last 10 or so, had the luxury of playing rugby as long as you have, or he just came up in campus, to put in 70 minutes of every Pirates game, and not only play but be one of their ball carriers, which he didn't do last season. Even in the season they won the league, I believe is one of those impressive. I don't want to talk about my players in my club because I can spend another 20 minutes. Let me go outside. Pajob has really impressed me because he shocked me, to be honest, at the amount of time he plays in a rugby team and the amount of carries he makes. So for me, I would mention Pajob.
Yeah, as we wrap up this, tell me about Eagles. Eagles are, so what do you think about them, and what does that mean?
I like
rugby in Uganda.
I like that people from nowhere came up and set up a rugby team. I love it. I would like to thank Chitante Primary School, because I mean, someone coming out and offering their grounds to be used, that's commendable. That's commendable, and I wish them well. I wish they come through. I don't know what levels in rugby, when you've started, what level you go to. Do you first start with championship?
They'll play championship probably.
And then see where they go. I hope they make it. I want so much more competition to fight this social media team of ours.
Well, you've heard it from Ceasar and myself for this episode of the podcast. But thank you for watching, and for everyone that is actually around. Please feel free to let us know what you think about our discussions, because remember, these are our opinions, but everyone has their own opinion. And we hope to be hosting a lot more of you, but keep it Kratos for all the updates, for all the weekend games. You can always go to our YouTube to watch the recordings of the weekend's games, the highlights as well, and also follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and for now we are out.